Now that we have completed all 7 journals, then we posted the totals to the debtors ledger and the creditors ledger. The last part of this transaction is now the general ledger. So go back to the pages where your general ledger starts. If you go to the general ledger of Ultimate Dealers, we're first going to start with the balance sheet account section. The first few accounts is capital, drawings, land and buildings, vehicles and equipment. Capital is an owner's equity minus plus. Drawings is an owner's equity minus plus. Land and buildings, vehicles and equipment are all 3 assets plus minus. I just like to fill in my signs so that I know when the amount goes on the debit side and when the amount goes on the credit side. Then also previously, add additional information 1 and 2, you got all your opening balances. So you've already completed that. Capital will have an opening balance on the credit side, 221,000. Drawings will have a debit balance, 2567 on the debit side. Land and buildings will have an opening balance on the debit side, 269,000. Vehicles will have an opening balance on the debit side, 45,000. And equipment will have an opening balance on the debit side of 34,800. All your opening balances will be on the 1st of February 2025. Now let's go to our capital account. If you go to your CRJ, you will see that the owner increased his capital on the 2nd, and it was an amount of 21,000. That's the only entry for capital. So now the owner's capital has grown. His capital is now a total of 242,000 Rand. Then if we complete our drawings account, drawings, we had drawings in our petty cash journal as well as in our CPJ journal. The drawings for petty cash was in the sundry account, so you have to use the specific date. The date was the 7th, and it was a total of 12 Rand. Your cash payments journal was a total of 460 Rand. Then we are done with the drawings. So then if you add up your debit side, you get 3039 as your total. Land and buildings and vehicles had no further entry, so those ledger accounts are complete. Now let's go to our equipment. Our equipment had a few entries on the debit side. And again, in your CPJ as well as your PCJ journals, you'll use the dates in the sundry accounts. CPJ, we had one equipment transaction on the 9th of 5,600. In our petty cash journal, we had one petty cash transaction on the 18th for 90 Rand. And our creditors control total in equipment was 3679 in our CJ. Then in our CAJ, our total was 200. So now you've completed your debit and credit entries. So now we know to use our rule. We're going to add up our debit side. We then get a total of 44,169. We know our credit side is also equal to 44,169 because our debits must equal our credits for it to balance. So our shortfall on the credit side is 43,969. And that is the same balance that we will bring forward on the 1st of March. We have now completed our first few ledger accounts. Let's complete our inventory account. Inventory is an asset plus minus. So our opening balance will be on the debit side, which we've already recorded 12,900 Rand. Then if we look at our inventory levels can go up if we purchase more either for cash, which is CPJ, or on credit, which is creditors journal, or if we use our petty cash journal to purchase inventory, or if we return stock DAJ. Then on the credit side, cost of sales goes hand in hand with inventory. So CRJ, DJ is influenced on the credit side. That's when we sell stock on credit to a debtor. CRJ is when we sell stock for cash. CAJ is when faulty stock was returned that we previously purchased on credit. So now that we know what goes on the debit and credit side, let's go to the totals of these various journals that we've already completed and just simply post the totals to our ledger. So our PCJ total is 45 Rand. Our CPJ total is 7089. Our CJ total is 3710. DAJ total Our debtors journal total is 12240. Our CAJ total is 4520. The last step is now to add up our debit side. If we add up our debit side, we get a total of 58944. We know that our credit side must then also equal to 58944. But when we add up our credit side, we have a shortfall. That shortfall will be our balance carried over, which is 16784. And that is the amount that we bring forward on the 1st of March, 16784. Our next account is our debtors control account, which is classified as an asset plus minus. We will have already entered our opening balance on the debit side of 3,500 Rand. Now the journals involved on the debit side is your petty cash journal and your debtors journal. So if you go to the total for petty cash in your journal, you'll get 12, and the total in the DJ is 17,982, your selling price for debtors. Then on the credit side, your journals involved is your CRJ and your DAJ. Your CRJ total is 6775, and if you go to your DAJ, your total is 4482. Now we simply need to add up the debit side to give you a total of 21,494. You know the credit side must also then equal to 21,494. So the shortfall on the credit side is 10,237, and that will be our balance that we will bring forward on the 1st of March, 10,237. And just make sure that this is the same balance that the total of our debtors list added up to. And if you go to your debtors list, which was completed on page 64, it does add up to 10,237. Our savings account had an opening balance on the debit side of 20,000 already recorded. Our next ledger is our bank. This time our bank is a liability because our opening balance is a credit balance. So our balance brought forward on the 1st was 5,900 Rand. Then if you go to your CRJ total for bank, you will see that it was 68455. If you go to your CPJ total bank, it's 36546. We now just have to total our debit side. Our debit side is a total of 68455. We know that our credit side must then also equal to 68455. So the difference on the credit side is 26,009. And that is the balance that we will bring forward on the 1st of March, 26,009. And then from the 1st of March, we have a favorable bank balance again. So next month, our bank will change to an asset. Our next ledger account is petty cash, which is an asset. Our opening balance is 500 Rand. Then in our CPJ, our total for petty cash bank was 270. Our PCJ total was also 270. If we add up the debit side of petty cash, we get 770. We know that the credit side must also equal to 770. And our imprest for petty cash is always balanced to 500 Rand. So balance carried down is 500, and we also bring it forward on the 1st of March, 500. Cash float is our next ledger account. Our opening balance is already entered on the debit side, 800 Rand. And then if you go to your CPJ, we had an entry on the 27th of 200 Rand. We because we wanted to increase our cash float to 1,000. So our total is 1,000. Then our creditors control is a liability, that's minus plus. We already have our opening balance brought forward on the credit side of 38,434. Now if you go to your CPJ journal, the total for creditors control is 12,300 Rand. Your CAJ total is 5030. Your CJ creditors journal total is 42,896. Now we've posted all our totals from the journals. Now we're simply going to add up our credit side, which gives us a total of 81,334. We know our debit side must also equal to 81,334. So the difference on the debit side is 64,004. And that is the same balance that we will bring forward on the 1st of March, 64,004. It's very important that you go back to your creditors list and that you make sure that the total of your creditors list also added to 64,004. And if you go to page 65 of your answer sheet, it did. Now let's go to our nominal accounts section. Our first ledger account is our sales account, which is an owner's equity minus plus. We have already entered our total on the debit side of 458,700. To complete our sales ledger account, you're going to go to your CRJ journal and your DJ journal. Your bank CRJ total is 37,000 and your debtors journal, debtors control total is 17,982. Now if we add up the credit side, we get 513,762. Our next account is our cost of sales account. On the debit side, you're going to go to your CRJ. The cost of sales in your CRJ total was 25,400. The next journal is your debtors journal. The cost of sales was 12,240. On the credit side, your DAJ cost of sales total was 1,800. So now we've entered all the totals from our journals. So now we simply add up the debit side to give us 337,640. We know the credit side must also equal to 337,640. So the difference of 335,840 is our balance or total brought forward for the 1st of March. 335,840. Then debtors allowances. Your debtors allowances total in your DAJ journal is 4,482. So if we add up our debit side, we get 13,182. Our next account is our rent income account. It's an owner's equity minus plus. We already have our opening total of 11,000. And then if you go to your CRJ journal, on the 25th, you had rental income of 3,600 Rand. So your total on the credit side is 14,600. Our next ledger account is telephone. It's an owner's equity minus plus. We already have our opening total on the 1st of 3,567. And then we had an entry on the 26th in our CPJ journal, 1,897. So our total for telephone on the debit side is 5,464. Then wages is also an owner's equity minus plus. It's an expense account. We already have our opening total brought forward of 3,900. Then our bank column for wages, in our CPJ, our total for wages was 2,480. And our total for wages in our petty cash, from our petty cash journal, was 15. If we add up the debit side, we get 6,935. Delivery fees is an owner's equity expense minus plus. We've already entered our opening total on the 1st, 267. If you go to your petty cash journal, we had delivery fees that we paid from our petty cash to the value of 23 Rand. So our debit column totals to 290. Then our stationery is also an owner's equity expense account. We have our total brought forward of 12,900 on the debit side. In our CPJ, our total for stationery was 231. In our creditors journal, our total for stationery was 1353. In our petty cash journal, our total for stationery was 61. If you go to the credit side, our total for stationery in our creditors allowances journal was 310 Rand. Now we've entered all our totals from our journals, so now we can simply add up our debit side, which comes down to 14,445. I know my credit side is also equal 14,445. So the balancing figure on my credit side is 14,135, and that will be my total that I will bring forward on the 1st of March, 14,135. Water and electricity is also an owner's equity expense. I already entered my total on the 1st of February, 6790. And then if I go to my CPJ journal, my total is 5670. That is the only entry for water and electricity. So now I add up my debit side and I get a total of 12,460. Packing material is our next ledger account. It's an owner's equity expense account minus plus. We already have our opening total brought forward of 2045. Then if you go to your CPJ journal, our total was 349 for packing material. If you go to your creditors journal, our total for packing material was 554. Again, it didn't have a total column. It was an entry in the sundries account, so then you use the specific date of the 23rd. The same applies to your CPJ. It didn't have a column. You use the date on the 21st because it went to sundries. And then if you go to your petty cash journal, your total for packaging material was 12 Rand. This time you'll use the 28th because it had a column for packaging material. Now we've entered all our entries from our journals, so we can add up our debit side and we get a total of 2960. Our last ledger account is our fuel account. Fuel is an owner's equity expense. We already have our total brought forward on the 1st of 7902, and the only journal that was affected with fuel was our creditors journal. It went to the sundries account column, so you'll have to use the date of the 13th, and the entry was 200 Rand. So our total for fuel is 8102. The last thing that we need to record for this exercise is our trial balance. Now our trial balance, you're going to enter all the totals, your final totals from your general ledger. If it is on the debit side of your general ledger, it will go in the debit column. And if it's on the credit side of your general ledger, it will go in the credit column. So it's all your totals and balances carried down on the 1st of March 2025, the next month. What's very important about your trial balance, your debit column and your credit column must equal. If it's not equal, then you made a mistake somewhere in either one of your journals, one of your ledgers, subsidiary ledgers, because it has to balance. The accounting principle says that the debit side must balance to the credit side. So in my workings out, when we did the general ledger, all my totals was color-coded in red. And then just above that, you would have your balance carried down for the next month. That is the balance that you are going to take. So if you go to your capital ledger account, do you see that the total on the credit side was 242,000? And you see it's on the credit side of the balance sheet account section of the general ledger. So now if you go to your trial balance, you're going to say capital B1, and on the credit side, you're going to put 242,000. If you go to drawings, you will see drawings had a total on the debit side of 3039. So then you will put it on the debit column of the trial balance. Land and buildings, debit 269,000. That goes in the debit column. Vehicles, debit 45,000. That goes in the debit column. Equipment. Do you see that you have a balance brought forward on the debit side 43969. So that is the amount that you put on the debit side of your trial balance. Your inventory or trading stock had a debit balance on the 1st of March that you bring forward of 16784. Your debtors control at a debit balance that you bring forward of 10237, and that is very important that that is the same total of your debtors list that you calculated. Then your savings account had a debit balance of 20,000. Your bank ended with a debit favorable balance of 26,009. Your petty cash ended with a debit balance of 500. Your cash float ended with a debit balance of 1,000. Your creditors control will have a credit balance of 64,004. And remember, it must be the same as the total of your creditors list. Then your sales has a credit balance of 513,762. Your cost of sales has a debit total of 335,840. Your debtors allowances has a total of 13,182 on the debit side. Your rent income has a credit total of 14,600. Your telephone has a debit total of 5,464. Wages has a debit total of 6,395. Delivery fees as a debit total of 290. Stationery has a debit total of 14,135. Water and electricity has a debit total of 12,460. And packaging material has a total of 2,960 on the debit side. And your last expense account was your fuel expense account of 8,102 on the debit side. Now you've entered all your debit balances and credit balances from your general ledger into your trial balance. Now you simply just need to add up your two columns to see if they balance. And if you add up your debit column, you get an answer of 834,366. And then you add up your credit column, and it must match your debit column, which in this case it does, 834,366. We have now completed exercise 2.6.